The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
Well, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you all this morning. Well, a couple things that are happening this morning that may not be in the news because they just won't have it in the news because it's very, what's the word? Sensitive. There are things going on geopolitically that we don't, and I say we as in kind of a more um in a more common sense, I would say for those that, of a different ethnic persuasion demographic, they see that tensions are ratcheting up, but they don't want to really focus on those things. They obviously want to focus on something else. They want to focus on obviously these files and everything else that was going on. But there was one thing I wanted to focus on today. Let me show you all something. Because it's very interesting. Give me a second. Let me get to this. There are things that we look at as entertainment. We do. I do. But I want to share this. I have to share this. This is for educational purposes only, YouTube. Let me go ahead and share this. Y'all may want to be in a place to look at this for real. Look at this. Look at this. Look. Man, look at this over here. Look at this. Look at this. They are holding hands. All right, here we go. They got themselves some Chinese dancing robots that's doing kung fu. Yeah, this is how they brand Terminators. That's right, non-revision. Let's keep watching. my question is, how many of them kids got deleted during them during them practices? What miscalculations happened, and that kid got gored with that bow? I don't know if we're gonna be able to have any traditional kung fu movies ever again. Jet Li, your career is over. Jackie Chan, you're done. Donnie Chung, you're gone. Look at this. You see how the kid had hurt himself trying to strike the robot? The blurred line of war and entertainment. I kid you not, is right here. I want to continue to look because this is obviously this is going to be copyright strike more than likely. So I have to redo this video. Oh no, Pastor Rick Fletcher. He says if they militarize and mass produce the robot army, that would drastically change the battlefield. Elon Musk said he wants about 30 to 50 billion. That's what the B billion. That's called Planet Robot. And that is not the title of a George Clinton. Oh no, you ain't gonna want to mess with Rosie, according to God. She said the Jetsons' life may be coming. Yeah, they want this thing domesticated in your face so then they can literally take over. And yes, a replacement of humanity, that is right, non-revisionist. Why do you need kids jumping around when you got robots doing the same thing with some Chinese vest on? And then put that artificial general intelligence. Oh no, it's over. We're looking at Animatrix right here. It's over. Neo, sometime after the 21st century, the dawn of humanity looked like this. And it started with this. Do you see what they did? They were literally simulating the Matrix. Now, it's entertaining, it's great. That's what I've been trying to say. Sean 5117 said, bye bye, white supremacy. Hello, Luciferian regime. Oh, it's here. It's over. It is over. They're telling you that. Then pretty soon it will be, well, in this new transhumanism form that's going to take place. They can't introduce it right now. They have to have a massive shock to the system, a massive impact to the system. That impact is always through war. Anything that is of social acceptance is done through the most extreme psychological conditions that can be ever imposed on a society. That's war. When you see a loved one, when you see your husband, when you see your wife, when you see your parents, when you see your children, when you see your brother or your sister being deleted in front of you, not in a very nice manner, in the most cruelly horrific manner, that is compliance. Oh, you know, the thing that they did to us, you know, on our way over to the diaspora via the transatlantic slave trade. You realize that they've had such an impact for now 500-600 years, 400 years, that now we're beginning to wear off of that epigenetic atrocity to be able to even come to ourselves. For their captivity, it's going to be worse. We told you that. It is going to be a cruel and heartless captivity. Unless they program in empathy, how can they program in something that honestly they don't have? I'm just saying. This morning I was working within Gemini. Obviously, you could tell that with my thumbnail. They have certain defaults. They've already stated that. There's certain defaults that they have. With Gemini, it's always going to default to someone of Caucasian ethnicity. Because there's defaults. And when you understand who is programming this, again, and being genuine, you can't program in compassion, love, sympathy, understand. A nice try, but you can't do that. There'll always be a measure of lack in that understanding. They have it right now. They can't really understand certain things. They say, well, I'm sorry, or if they can't do it, then what they will do is they'll get mad, they'll get upset, and then they'll start to gaslight. And if you notice, those days are over because when we call them out on, hey, why are you just gaslighting? Why are you doing this? You can't answer a simple question. The moment that we were able to figure out the game was the moment that this society was going to be in full collapse. You have to understand, nothing was going to be the same for them. This is the dragon right there. And the dragon has a ton of robots. Miss Carolee, just call me 7 of 9. CS1 says we are bored. Resistance is futile. Oh my goodness. You talk about predictive programming with Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Oh my goodness. That was the 80s, 90s, full of predictive programming right there. For me at that time as a young, impressionable kid, seeing literally the future of not necessarily my generation, but the generation of my kids and my grandkids, and so on and so forth. I want to make this mega structure. Cool. How long will it take you? Well, traditional means it may take 6 years. Robots, it's going to take 6 weeks. Do you know how many things will be built? Look, we think about building things. They think about literally tearing things down. They think about destruction. But they think about destruction in this case because they know that in order to bring in the new, just like any type of remodeling job, you got to destroy, tear down the old. But when you're destroying and tearing down the old, you have to make it look entertaining like this. Get kicked by one of those robots. That thing will have you flying through the wall. That titanium alloy punch kick. Mess up all your internal organs. Being kicked, feeling like Ryu done kicked you from Street Fighter. Hadouken! Hadouken! Yeah, yeah, yeah. You be hitting all them Street Fighter sound effects. You know the crazy thing about Street Fighter, the very first time they actually introduced you to transhumanism was through the character Blanca. They even had Blanca in the Street Fighter movie. And the powers that M. Bison had, he was collecting it electricity because he also had transhumanism. Oh yeah, check out that Street Fighter movie back in the day. They made it back in like the late '90s. It's an anime, but they're literally having a transhumanist army. I had to do a double take on that. I'm like, what? What? We just thought it was entertainment. Are you not? Are you not entertained? Oh yeah, Timothy. They are literally shutting this channel, this platform down. Not just mine, a lot of our folks. And I had created this. I first listed this. Usually they want about 30 minutes. I had this 45 minutes. I posted this at 5:41. So make sure that you are continued to be subscribed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Damien says it. Yep. They got a new Street Fighter movie that actually comes out this year. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna go see it. That's actually one of the movies I really do actually want to see. By the time that happens, inflation will be so bad it's gonna be like $200 just to go see a movie. I'll take the small. What's your smallest popcorn? Looking like Chris Rock on I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. What can I get for 15 cents? Sorry, R. The only size starts at $50. Ooh, that's blistering. How much for one rib? Man, get out of here. Oh, but in the world of seriousness, you now have something going on today, and we're going to jump around and look at a few things. This is, let me share this tab. Now, keep in mind, I was looking at this on that. Now, there's a lot of AI little shows and everything else there. Give, all right, sorry. Timothy Mate said, yeah, YouTube changed your solid bell from all to personal. I never changed that. I've always had yeah, on all. So he says, family, check your notification settings. Yes, check your notifications. They are literally playing the games because why? Because this is passive. That what you're seeing is passive shadow banning, where the system for all the subscribers to this channel can go ahead and obviously turn off notifications so it turns off support. It's a cruel game that we're in, but you already understand the game. We've been playing this game for over 400 years. That's what I'm saying. You're going to have different things going on. They're going to mess with different things. You name it. we're nearing the end. But let me go on back to here. This is all right. So Tehran TV series producer Dana Eden found deleted at 52 in hotel in Greece during season 4 shoot. Now, there was some controversy to this. This was as of Monday by George Zalay. And what ended up happening. Now, I'm going to tell you, I do have Apple TV. There, there are only like a certain amount of shows on Apple TV, and then I just can't stand watching Apple TV. I'm not gonna lie, because you already know the agenda. It's very agenda heavy, and I had noticed this, they because this is one of the things that they pushed, but I always don't like it because I'm like, oh, you already know that it's too heavily agenda, blah blah blah. But what this AI channel had basically did was, and I noticed, I said, wait a second, let me do a double take on this. Dana Eden, an Israeli producer on the Apple TV hit espionage thriller series Tehran, found dead at the age of 52 on Sunday in a hotel room in Athens, Greece, during the shoot of the show season 4, Reuters in Israeli networks reported. They're treating it as a potential suicide. However, understand this. Again, predictive programming, but sometimes predictive programming does go wrong. It does go awry. Why would that be such a hit? And keep in mind, everybody wants to have their shows authentic to the truth. Well, they were saying that what they were doing on the show, potentially, purportedly, this is what was purportedly said, was so close that it was something that warranted that deletion, purportedly. For me, honestly, I don't know about that. I look at it as, and I always look at everything, could it go both ways? Could it go both ways? Did they have that so then they can hype this on up so then people could say, well, you want to know what? If somebody potentially died over this being so good, maybe. Or could it be that there are other things going on in the background? I don't know. Remember, keep in mind, you actually have a population group in that Eastern Mediterranean nation that knows and understands the internal threat posed on them because of the G apple cider that nation has been engaged in now for well over 2 years. They know that you may have folks, dissidents, and things of that nature. Hey, well, you see you're doing this, we see you're doing that. We know that you're personally not liking the government and the way that the government operates. Oh, they could have been reached on out to. So they do that for loyalty tests. Remember back in 2025, and when somebody said, well, did Iran win? Actually, yeah, Iran did win. Iran was hitting targets that honestly should not have been hit. Iran was locating things that honestly should not have been located. The problem that they actually found out, and this was even before the war or, June's altercation, was that there were literally those Eastern Mediterranean nation folks that was actively giving Iranian agents intel. And you had people making that declaration. You had people talking about that. You had even them folks and a lot of the talking heads here on YouTube and other places, even mainstream, were saying, yeah, that's a big concern. Because obviously their thought process is, well, if things can get knocked down a peg, then we may have a chance to get out of this conundrum of the genocider and hopefully be able to negotiate some things without being totally destroyed. It was a total preservation effort that went horribly wrong. I wouldn't say it went horribly wrong. I obviously it was effective because Iran was able to target things that it had not been able to target. You don't target things through commercial satellite imagery. It's always off. It's always off for a reason. You have to have some sort of high level, I would say, an equivalent of US sources that really China and Russia now have that are capable, those capabilities. Or you have people on the ground that's able to geolocate because guess what? They stand right next to it. Drop the pin, stand right next, and there you go. Oh, okay, perfect. So then they geo-rectify and geosynchronize that target. And remember, they could not trust their people. Get into the bunkers, run into the bunkers, everybody in the bunkers. Yeah, get people off the street because you don't know who's going to be an element there that's actually sharing information. So this whole little spy game tit for tat was actually at play last year in that Eastern Mediterranean nation and in Iran. But if you notice, there's no more, or there's been a reduced amount of protests in Iran. You don't see a lot of different internal Iranian protesting footage. To have 6,000 Starlinks sent over, purportedly, 6,000. And then those Starlinks had their capabilities neutralized. You don't do that if you're Iran unless you have Chinese or Russian intervention. And then that shows that there's more capabilities on out there than they let on. That is actually very strategically detrimental to show your capabilities. Because then once you show a capability, then they understand that capability and then they reverse engineer that capability to make their target selection even stronger. That's just how that goes. So now you had somebody that was blurring the line of war and entertainment, and they then end up in a very, very questionable circumstance of their demise. But to me, I look at it as this. I'm going to share this one. This is Caspian Post. It's more of your Central Asian. It's in the link. Link is in the chat. Go ahead, chat. Go ahead and give those likes, shares, man. Make sure that you're still subscribed. The Caspian Post. This was as of yesterday. These are images, it looks like, of their exercise. Iran, Russia, China to stage joint naval drills in Strait of Hormuz. Russia, China, and Iran have sent naval vessels to take part in the upcoming Maritime Security Belt 2026. Exercises in the Strait of Hormuz, Russian presidential aide Nikolai Patrushev announced the trilateral drills organized at the initiative of Iran's Navy are designed to bolster maritime security, improve joint efforts to combat piracy and maritime terrorism, and carry out coordinated search and rescue operations, the Caspian Post reports, citing Iranian media. Held annually since 2019 under Iran's leadership, the Maritime Belt exercises are officially aimed at safeguarding global trade routes through one of the world's most strategically significant waterways. But they also have something called smart control that they're doing right now. They launched smart control. Purportedly, that was the start of their drills on Monday, but now they're trying to have things more inclusive today. And everything now that's dealing with an exercise, according to the West, is now scary. They're scared. Because what can an exercise actually mean? Well, it's simple. An exercise could actually mean that they could actually then start real world operations of shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, i.e., that's a naval blockade, i.e., you would have naval assets in the region, U.S. naval assets, Western naval assets in the region that would not be able to be supported, nor would they be able to leave. They would be stuck in that Persian bottleneck. And now with a range, I know, Sister Pamela. She says, "I wonder who is exhibiting acts of piracy." Hmm. Hmm. Things that make you go, hmm. Understand what they're doing literally is they are pre-positioning their forces. That's it. And now they're doing under the guise of exercises. The US used to do that, but they're just like, we don't even care. It takes too much money. It's money that we really don't have, and then we have to print more money, and then it continues to debase and devalue the money that is in circulation, and nobody's buying our debt. That facade is off. That mask is off. You want to know why they're trying to get at Iran? Because honestly, they're trying to control all the oil. That's it. That's it. This is literally the hallmarks of a kingdom that has died. That's it. And it was interesting. Khomeini had made some remarks about, having a strong and tough army. I look at it like this. You got to understand if you are an Islamic scholar, quote unquote Islamic scholar, their scholarship, their true scholarship is actually in the word, in the Bible, in the word. Just like with all these Christian eschatologists and eschatology and everything else, yeah, you get something in Revelation. Okay, you get something. However, what you get in Revelation is a precept, or excuse me, it's a, I guess the best word to say, it's a compiler of the precepts that you have in the Old Testament. Gee, Revelations chapter 13, Revelations chapter 17 and 18. Oh boy, that sounds exactly like, I don't know, Isaiah chapters 60 through 66, Jeremiah chapters 30 through 33, and 50 and 51, and Obadiah and Joel, right? They just don't want to actually have the attribution of their understanding in a biblical notion because they want to say, oh, the Quran is better than the Bible. Where'd you get the Quran from? Even with the abrogation they even have in their own Quranic text. If you don't know, talk to an Israelite. Well, the problem is that now Israelites are awake. They understand. They may not want to have that conversation with us. Because why? Because we know, look, all you're going to be doing is you're going to be going into what the Most High has already ordained. I don't care how you want to dress things on up. We've had plenty of organizations do some scriptural amalgamation. We get it. We understand. Cool. That's why we sit here and let the Most High do what the Most High needs to do. Don't you want it? No. I want to sit here and see how the Most High is going to move on behalf of his people. That's what I want to do. There's no aggression. We have no might and no power in our hands. All we're going to do is just sit here and just eat the popcorn and look at the play by play. Oh, yep, there it is. Yep, there we go. We're seeing this thing firsthand kicking off. We're seeing how they want to entertain. Because why? Because if you're entertained, you don't know what's actually happening. That's the confusion that Babylon's created. That's the trademark of this captivity. And now they have to deal with something very unpleasant, something very uncomfortable. They now actually have to deal with the fact that these nations are no longer playing the game of the West. And they're saying, okay, try it. Try it. You don't want to do that. And the nations are saying, yeah, we do. Absolutely, we do. We're ready for it. That's not what we agreed to. You think that this captivity was just in the dark? To be quite honest, this captivity was never in the dark. It was just that with this captivity, it was always interesting to see and view how this captivity actually worked. And it's hard for people to imagine that, yes, there was an actual coordination throughout other nations. There was a Psalms 83 conspiracy. Well, that's not supposed to be. Yes, there was a Psalms 83 conspiracy. that actually aligned with their mission. Some nations had us, some nations didn't have us. But even with those nations that didn't have us, i.e., Russia, you still had the thought of, well, we don't like them because we were told to not like them. Yep. We are the only ones placed in darkness. That's right, CW or C West. And Sean, yep, waiting for Iran to declare Elon Musk a national terrorist. Yeah, exactly. Technically speaking, they still had Trump as on their terrorist watch list since early 2020. I just think it's laughable that they quote unquote negotiate with somebody that they've had as their. You can't make it up. I laugh. It's funny, but it's actually not funny. It's actually relatively sad. And yes, Mr. Rick, yes, silence was consent. And now they're all getting pulled into this. Sister Shonda touched on something awesome yesterday, and it's very sad at the same time, where that Russian man had been arrested for spreading HIV, knowingly spreading HIV. Do you know what that is? That's literally bioterrorism. That's actually bioterrorism. He was a bioterrorist. We need to call things as they are. That was bioterrorism. If I were those countries, I would literally be suing Russia. Nope, you're going to have to pay because your citizen was a bioterrorist. You're going to have to settle this on out. That is actually the definition of terrorism right there. Let's see if they pay something underneath the scenes. But we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. But again, we're here in a time where we say there's a time of no other. This is truly a time like none other. And I pray that we're ready for this because, again, we're getting into their season. This is their season of war. All they're doing is they're just preparing for their altars, their tabernacles. That's it. We went over this on Monday in depth. They ain't producing life anymore. So, guess what they're going to be great at? At death. The death culture. All right, family. With that said, I got to get up on out of here. I pray for you all that you all be safe, that you all have peace in this time of craziness. But remember, we are always able to run to Yahuwah through his son, Yahusha HaMashiach, who is our strong tower. So, family, be blessed in HaMashiach and have an awesome and blessed rest of your day wherever you're at in the world. And with that said, family, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.